something like that. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care.
Do something for you.
Oh, you're gonna go off camera?
Hey there, good looking. What's that? You're looking for a video about two grown men talking about a film festival? Here you go. Hey everybody. Who's here? Matt's here.
I'm here.
And I'm here. And we're going to be talking about some of the cool films we've watched during Fantasia Film Festival for 2020.
You gotta have the A go out. Fantasia. But you know they like to do that thing. They like to do the meow thing. The Fantasia meow.
It's the greatest film festival of time, and it's happening right now online during the world's burning up, falling apart.
It's virtually the only thing that's keeping the internet in the world alive right now.
And it's been quite fun. I think I don't know how what's the one word you would describe the film festival?
Oh, we're gonna do a simplistic.
Let's do that, because that's our our stick.
Our shtick is having one word to sum up everything in life.
I would say for the film festival.
Yeah, for the film, but not for life, but for the
not
film
what's
festival.
going on over here with these people and that people.
No.
We're just talking right on our screen, the screeners that we've gotten, the interviews you have done.
Yes, the reviews
PR people you've talked to.
The PR folk that had been so kind to provide us links and
great and kind and easy. Everything's been easy to access. I haven't had any technical issues. I would say this film festival for me has been pretty wonderful. I think wonderful would be the word, because
wunderbar.
I really have seen some fantastic little films, some great little shorts, wonderful, interesting stories that you don't normally get to see, especially nowadays. I mean, we know that the theater experience is kaput.
Yeah, kaput.
That's
the Statue of Liberty is kaput.
Which I'm all for, because, you know, big studios always have to try to make their films be readily accessible for every audience member, essentially. Yeah. When you're doing these independent film festivals, these guys are, you know, guys and girls are coming together, scraping up every dollar they can, putting all their effort and time into something that they're passionate about, and you come up with some interesting storylines and
pretty damn good stuff.
Yeah, wonderful acting, some great music, some fantastic fights that we've seen as well.
Some great fights,
and I think we should talk about them. What do you think?
We should. Well, this is as advertised, this is I probably in essentially the biggest genre film festival.
I'm gonna sit like this. Is this okay?
Yeah, you can sit just like that.
I'm just gonna be cool, comfortable. Because this is how I felt watching the films.
Yeah,
like,
most of the time, I was very like, I stuck my chest out.
You know, because if I go to the movie theater, like I gotta come in, I gotta like check the seat, make sure there's no like gum or anything, or trash everywhere, and I'm sitting like this with my freaking gloves on and my mask.
Yeah. But you know what? At home, I don't have to wear a mask unless I'm really into it. But most of the time, I love to wear a mask at home.
And you're into it.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't just want to wear a really weird-looking mask when you're sitting on your couch next to your significant other watching some film about, you know, demons possessing people, or, you know, kung fu prodigies, monster fucking kaiju seafood.
Yeah, kaiju shares.
What else? I mean, you know, Tiny Tim maybe. You know, if you're to the old tiny one. But yeah, I mean,
Tiny Tim. That's kind of
Tiny Tim. He's probably the MVP of the entire festival so far.
Yeah, you think?
I mean, I don't think he got enough. You know,
Tiny Tim is, you know, and I think a lot of people unfortunately do not know who Tiny Tim is.
They never tiptoed through the tulips or
Blood
Harvest. Nobody was
Oh,
ever good enough to be a
quite
blood harvester.
quite the character. Hasn't been confirmed, but most likely on the spectrum. A little
Yeah,
different. I don't know if you've seen his Howard Stern appearances.
that I haven't. I've only seen it in the film the Johnny Carson and all the other. My biggest thing, and I talked about this in the review I did for Tiny Tim
Right. It was
King Bird,
wrestling, right?
was his appearance on WWF Raw, where Jerry the King Lawler takes his ukulele and smashes it to bits, and he weeps. He weeps openly about his poor ukulele, and what's sad about that is that he passed away not too long after that event happened.
Oh, that's
On
right. He
Yeah,
died during
he died
performance.
during a performance. He
Yeah.
basically keeled over in front of a crowd
Yeah.
due to a heart attack and passed away. Uh,
Yeah.
poor little Tiny Tim.
Yeah. John Lennon once talked about him. Did they talk about that in the documentary?
Not specifically about John Lennon talking
The
about him, but
Beatles.
he was as big as it got. I mean, he performed during Woodstock, like the original Woodstock in
Yes.
1969,
Yes.
and he traveled the fucking world because he in the 60s and 70s, even 80s, he was huge. You
Yeah.
wouldn't think Tiny Tim would have been like this
It
huge,
was a big deal. A lot
like
of guest star appearances on shows and
gigantic. Like
concerts.
he was an extreme piece of Americana. Like he's specifically very Americana
Yeah.
when it comes to like folk music and this and that. And everybody had something to say about Tiny Tim, whether it was good or bad. But a very
Yeah.
special part
I
of
came in.
things.
I came into Tiny Tim, and it was right off the John Lennon quote about how they were. Lennon had talked about how he's probably like the realest person you ever meet because he's so honest. He doesn't
Mhm.
hide anything, and he is who he is, and he represents that vocally as well as visually. Um, and there's so many interesting little things I know about Tiny Tim, and that's the one little doc that I've been wanting to watch during this film festival, and reading your review
Mhm.
and seeing that poster, I've been itching to watch it.
He's it's almost like he's almost a character that like maybe like Tim Burton would have conjured up for one of his films because he also has kind of a pseudo likeness to Tim Burton in a lot of ways. If you kind of put like 80s Tim Burton next to Tiny Tim, you would almost have a
Yes,
very like comparable kind of look.
the
This
hair,
the hair and
the
just kind of like
the
uh, just,
lanky kind
yeah.
of. Yeah,
He would have been like if Tim Burton decided to dress up as like Pee Wee Herman in some
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
That's how I would kind of like almost say what Tiny Tim was. But it's just I've never seen
I,
another character or person like him ever. Like besides him, there's no other Tiny Tim, and he's so
when I,
polarizing too. Like I talk to
he
people that are like,
is.
I fucking hate Tiny Tim. It's like why? It's like because he's
No,
weird. And he
no.
is weird. He's a very weird,
He's out there, yes,
polarizing.
or
This
he was out
like
there.
he made people feel uncomfortable, but he wasn't purposely making you feel uncomfortable.
You
That was the
know,
way he is.
he always was the living embodiment to me of a Tromo film. When he was on Howard Stern, like he talked about brushing his teeth, and it's funny because this is when Howard Stern was good.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, and
Oof.
so every time when I brush my teeth, I think of Tiny Tim because Tiny Tim said when he brushes his teeth, he doesn't spit right away. He crunches on it, swashes it through his teeth.
All the spittle, all the shit, like all the stuff. He's all
Well, he
the
keeps the
toothpaste. He keeps
toothpaste
the
like
toothpaste inside
in
his
his mouth
mouth.
for like the next 10 minutes. And I remember I think like Howard was like, "Oh, really? That sounds
That sounds
interesting."
weird. Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, it's people don't do it right. They don't brush their teeth. That's you got to get it in there, and it's got to work, and it's got to get all that." And he had terrible fucking teeth.
His teeth
Terrible
was
fucking
great.
teeth.
Yeah. So if anything, that should teach you
Because he had a
tooth.
terrible fucking diet too.
Well, yeah. You look at him. He looked like Grimace. Like his body was like Grimace with the head and the body of like Tim
That's true.
Burton and Pee Wee Herman. He
Pee
had
Wee
this like
Herman,
weird pear
Tim
shape
Burton.
something kind of going on. And that's no offense to like other people with pear shaped bodies and stuff like that, but a very interesting look and feel, and
Yeah.
obviously hygienic qualities as well too.
Yeah,
So,
good.com.
yeah, you need to watch it. You haven't seen it yet, so
Yeah, no, I'm gonna watch it. I have been wanting to watch it, and it's funny. Tiny Tim. There's not really much about Tiny Tim out there, especially documentaries. So I know when you said there was a Tiny Tim documentary, I was
it's
just
like,
like,
whoa, finally
wait a second, what?
somebody took the time to like kind of compile this guy's entire life story into 90 minutes, on screen.
And what was your one word review for Tiny Tim?
I called him celestial
Ah,
because he almost seemed like a being that wasn't of Earth. He was
no,
something that
his ship landed
transcended
here
humanity.
a long
Yeah,
time ago.
something just kind of landed here, dropped him off, and said, "Well, see you later, bro." And he, just kind of an outworld, like I don't say creature, but an outworld being, a
Yeah,
being from the outlands
yeah.
that didn't exist before he came along, and nobody else has existed before or after him. So,
No,
I mean, the word was
we're
more
both
based
doing it
on.
now.
Yeah, we're both doing that now. This is what I did when I was watching
It's very
Tiny Tim.
comfortable.
It is. I love having the arm back. Put your chest out a little bit.
Why don't
Feel.
people sit like this more often?
I don't know. I think because people are so used to sitting on like bar stools and other chairs that don't have a back, so they're not used to like being able to like put their hand behind like a back of a chair
I see.
in order to do that. That's my thought process on that. So, but
Mm.
so I watched Tiny Tim. What's something that what else have you been watching? What have you been covering for the old film festival?
Well, I recently watched Dinner in America,
Mm-hmm.
which
Something I haven't watched yet. It's on the list, but haven't seen
and
it yet.
totally would recommend it. It's a quirky movie, but it knows when to be quirky. I think the beginning. It's funny. I feel like when I first watched it, I was like, oh, what's going on here? And the lead is quite quite good. He's chaos. He walks around, he's chaos. In the beginning, he's making money by testing food and stuff, and he meets this girl who starts fingering the meat.
All right.
Like, you want to go home with me? And he goes home, meets the parents, and this whole thing happens. Leah Thompson's her mom, and
So Leah Thompson's in this film.
Leah Thompson's in this.
Holy, okay, I didn't
Chloe
know
from
that.
24 is in this.
Uh, this
And
got some people in this.
they got Ben Stiller produced it.
Yeah, he told me that.
This is it was one of the longer films, an hour and 46 minutes.
Okay.
I had watched Come Fuck My Robot right before this, so
Yeah, we'll get into that.
we'll get into that,
Yeah.
which was only 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
So it's that's what's cool about the film festival, is kind of like going back and between different types of.
Yep.
This is literally a full feature,
Mhm.
and then before this I watched a prototype for a full feature,
Mhm.
and both completely different, but there's romance, there's chaos, like I said, quirkiness. It really grabs you, and when these two characters meet, they go through this journey and they kind of find themselves, and there's just this humor that's gross, funny, and some people's reviews about this they were talking about like Napoleon Dynamite type quirkiness and stuff like that, and I could kind of agree a little bit, but it's completely darker.
It kind of reminded me of, I haven't seen it, but it reminded me of like what Buffalo 66 a little bit.
Yeah.
The Vincent Gallo and Christina Ricci movie. I mean, only because it's like, a guy and a girl, and like, the guy's kind of like badass motherfucker, and the girl's kind of like, naive-ish, I guess, and it's kind of got that weird quirky, like, I'm going to take you home to meet my mom type thing. So
Yeah, and
it kind of gave me that idea a little bit.
he's a punk rocker, and you know, he hates the world that he grew up in. So you meet her parents, you meet his parents, and you kind of understand where they're coming from.
Mhm.
There's just these wonderful moments of just, I didn't find a problem with this movie. This is one of the only, I think, films I watched where I was like, God damn, they're killing it. There was some beautiful shots, some wonderful jib work, some great crane shots, and just the writing was, you know, there's some independent films that I've seen that it gets way too crazy with the words, and
Yeah.
you know, there's dialogue in here, but it's captivating dialogue, and it's just a fun ride that you can laugh at, but also you feel for these characters and you're rooting for them, yet they're these two oddballs that somehow come together and it works perfectly. It was quite the movie, and I'm gonna watch it again.
Because I know that was one of your, out of all the movies that kind of came out of like even the first wave. And I was like, oh, that seems interesting. So you
Yeah,
were one right away. It's like, oh, Dinner America. Right away, you kind of like stuck with
yeah.
you. So I know it was definitely in your, you know, top films to
That was
watch.
the top three I think I picked right away.
Mm-hmm.
There was just something about, you know, I love little buddy comedies of people getting together and going through a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And this was definitely one of the highlights for the film festival for me. Um, this and, you know, the Paper Tigers, which we'll talk about.
Paper Tigers we'll
I
talk
think we'll talk
about.
about
And
that toward the end.
yeah, towards the
Um,
end. Because I know
that
we both saw that.
Yes, that was incredible.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think this is one of those movies that I think people need to check out when it comes on like Amazon and those distributors
Yeah.
to really enjoy. It's quite, the word I used was remarkable. I thought it was quite
Yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah, and I mean, now I have to watch. I mean, based on just like your review, and of course it was short because that's what we like to base our reviews on anyway. Just like here's the
Simplistic.
point.
It's
It's
got to be
simplistic.
simplistic, right?
Here's the word. Here's a little bit of the story. Here's what I think about it, and ultimately make up your own fucking mind at the end of
Yeah.
it as well too. It's like
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not,
only
and
giving you the tidbits.
like I said to you earlier, these aren't movies that are being funded by big studios.
No.
So you're going to see issues. You're going to see issues with dialogue. You're going to see issues literally in shots and whatnot.
Mhm.
And I could care less. I'm really more interested when it comes to these type of film festivals, the creative process that people take and what they create. And I think we really freaking got a shit ton of them.
No, we did.
Time around,
Yeah,
and
but I
that's
mean,
pretty lucky of us.
yeah, because collectively, I mean, there were like 100 films for the entire festival. We've only covered probably a fraction, maybe a quarter of
Yeah.
it and everything. It's hard to cover literally every, and you have to cover the movies that you want to cover too. I mean, it's like you can request every movie under the sun, and you might watch it and be like, all
Quite
right,
the umbrella. It's quite the
yeah,
umbrella of shorts,
hmm
5, 10, 20-minute shorts, and
yeah,
then you had these full features, these docs, these sci-fi, these crazy Japanese
yeah. Like we
movies.
said, everything, every genre kind of
Yeah,
under the sun type
everything.
thing, where it's like you get action, romance, drama, sci-fi, horror, thriller, zombie shit, everything kind of under the sun. Um, I
And
guess moving into like these three films that we saw,
yeah.
unless you want to see something else
Well, I
too.
wanted to talk. So you've done 3 interviews right
Yeah.
now.
hmm
Let's talk about that for a little bit. We'll kind of jump through those 3 movies. I've only seen one of those 3 movies that you did.
Yeah, you saw
So
what you saw. We both
Paper
saw
Tigers.
Super Tigers.
Yeah.
The other two were with the two
The
Ryans.
two
It was
Ryans, yeah.
Yeah, Ryan and Ryan. It was Ryan Kruger and Ryan Spindell. Ryan Kruger, South African director by way
Cape
of
Town, yeah.
Liverpool. Yeah, Cape Town. So he directed Fried Berry, which I'm surprised you haven't watched that one yet.
It's on my list to watch.
It's I mean, my short, in short, it was E.T. on crack. I should have probably put E.T. on crank. I think it was more of a crank type thing than crack. But based on a short that he directed, about 3 years before the actual movie, this movie was like, think of like things like Train Spotting, E.T.,
Yeah.
Under the Skin, like Fire in the Sky. It was basically the amalgamation of like a drug fueled fucking crazy alien abduction insurrection type thing happening in a, I don't want to say dystopian Cape Town, but definitely something like, I haven't been to Cape Town. You haven't been to Cape Town. I know nothing about South Africa, but it
I
looks fucking
I
great. I want to go there because there's crazy shit going on in there, especially if
yeah.
you're a fucking alien.
I mean, if I wasn't allowed to tell you about it or talk to you about it in regards to the settlement. But
Oh yeah, I was about to say legal proceedings, or you're still under a gag order.
when I watched that trailer, it just seemed balls to the wall craziness, and
Hmm.
I mean, we love that, right? That's what
Yeah,
we like. So
we like nutbag shit. We like crazy shit, and
I have a list of movies that I'm going to watch. Maybe not necessarily write a review because you've already written a review,
mhm.
but those are the two right there. Which, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So Fried Berry was great, and then the other Ryan Spindell, he directed the Mortuary Collection, which is basically just a giant anthology horror film, which I'm already in love with it. If it's a
and
anthology film,
and it's all tied together, right? With Clancy,
it's all tied together. It's
Clancy
got
Brown.
Clancy Brown. It's got Lex Luthor in it, which is
There could only
amazing.
be one.
There's going to be one. Lex Luthor pretty much playing the Crypt Keeper meets the Clarence
It's
Williams III from Tales from the Hood
it's absolutely perfect.
meets the Tall Man from Phantasm.
Yes,
That's pretty much
yes.
it's all him collectively in that. And the stories are fun. It's a world building anthology too, because everything kind of takes place in the same fictional Raven's End, city that he created. So it's and there's other stuff in that film that Ryan did previously with other shorts that are incorporated in the film too. So
No Ted Danson this time around.
no Ted Danson in this one, unfortunately. Nothing to tide you over, but
Liam Neeson.
yeah. But what's cool about the interviews I did with those three guys
Leslie
were
Nielsen.
less.
I said Liam Neeson.
I mean, you were close enough. I got it.
Yeah, you got it. I ever tell you the story when he died?
Who?
Where I was, Leslie?
Yeah. No, where were you?
I was on an airplane coming back to California.
And you heard that he passed away.
The pilot
He
brought it
announced
up.
it? Wow.
I will say it's one of the
Perfect,
greatest
though.
moments of my life. Because when I tell this story, I've told this story to like my dad. I told him when I landed. He's like, no, they didn't. Wait, you didn't do that. I'm making that up. Airplane is such an amazing film, not to get away from anything. But when you're on an airplane itself and the pilot is like, we got some news to tell you guys. Leslie Nielsen, the actor, has passed away, unfortunately.
Surely I'm not joking.
It's like, what are you talking about? And then when you land, you get the notification on your phone.
Oh,
it's like, I was on an airplane during this time. This is perfect. This is how it goes. So the Mortuary Collection, how many segments does it have?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4 total.
Okay. That's great.
Four total stories. The first story is very short, but it's kind of a nice way to kind of go into the entire film. Then it's got a wraparound story, of course, and stuff like that. But it's really fun, and of course, to your point too, it's kind of on the longer end. It's about hour 46, hour and 50 minutes. So pretty,
Which isn't bad. I mean, if you're doing four segments,
doing four quality segments.
They're good, and it's not a problem.
No, I mean, I enjoyed all of them. I thought they were a lot of fun. Ryan was cool to talk with. about the film as well. It took him about 8 damn years to get this film completed, which is something that you kind of find out when you talk to these people who are doing these independent films. They take anywhere from about 4 years to 8 years to even get completed,
Yeah, it's not
from
easy.
inception to
Yeah.
the actual completion of it.
Yeah.
And just to think about having 8 years of your life dedicated to just your first film, because this was Ryan's first film.
It's your passion.
Yeah. Same thing with Ryan Kruger for Fried Berry. This was his first feature length film. And Bao Tran, who did Paper Tigers, this was his first feature length film too. It took him goddamn 8 years to get this thing off the ground too. So it's
And they all knocked them out of the park, it seems.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
all three of them, I really enjoyed those films. Thought they were a lot of fun, and I don't know, they're not that typical Hollywood bullshit that you get all the time. It's like,
No, and the only one that I went in blinded, where I didn't look up anything, was Paper Tigers. So just imagine the amount of surprise, of happiness when it begun the way it begun.
It was right up our alley. So we're like,
Yes,
give me this fucking shit. I want it in me right now.
Well, so we'll get that. I think that we'll get to that at the end.
Yeah,
because I think we have a lot to talk.
We keep teasing that film, but it was gonna be worth it.
It was really worth it.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and maybe talk about Feels Good Man. You saw that. I saw that. That is a documentary in regards to a particular meme.
Very specific meme.
Yes, Pepe the Frog.
Pepe the Frog, who started as a comic book, independent comic book out of San Francisco. That
during the MySpace years.
Yep.
Was uploaded.
The initial MySpace years, not the new MySpace.
No, not the
MySpace.
Justin Timberlake MySpace.
Yeah, not that bullshit. It was still Tom, still like, I'm your friend, I'm Tom, type shit. So it was like, hey, Tom, fuck you, Tom. No, Tom was okay. I don't know what's wrong with Tom. Tom was fine.
Tom's doing all right.
I'm sure Tom's fine. Tom's off the radar.
He did great.
He did okay. So good job, Tom. You're my friend.
This particular artist just thought it was funny to upload this comic, and boy, did it take off.
Yeah.
It went from friends hanging out, smoking, eating, drinking,
pissing with
brawling, and pissing.
Yeah,
to literally a symbol of hate.
Yeah, the ultimate and symbol of hate. It's a symbol that was hijacked in a lot of ways, and not only by the worst people. I mean, you could say, yeah, the worst people in the world are definitely people on the internet. Even worse people are people that are on 4chan and shit like that. And I think the documentary highlights a very interesting kind of intersection between,
it does.
And
when it's to talk to that guy that's living in his mom's basement.
Yeah, which is like the ultimate kind of like, I
love the shot of her like preparing breakfast or whatever, and the cat, and she's like, she's like, fuck that, I'm not going to be shown. It's all blurred out.
Yeah, it's like,
I think that's brother
I'm not
was blurred
associated
out
with this fucking kid that I happen to have. Fucking.
He goes down the steps and he's like, yeah, this is my room. There's just like shit everywhere.
Yeah.
He's like picks up a bag. He's like, I just fucking throw shit. I don't care because I don't give a shit about life.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck, but he's on the internet all the time. And this is like the amalgamation of the internet, the shitty internet culture that has been created by one website specifically, or one. The internet continues to be shitty and hateful and woeful at the same time. But
boy, don't we know.
Yeah, we're part of it, unfortunately. But it's just kind of like, it's an interesting story about the naivety, being naive and saying like, well, everything's fine, just this and that, and then having your thing taken from you, basically being made the modern day equivalent of a swastika in a lot of ways, and literally being, taken by white supremacists or people having fucking lapels, but then also being punched in the face by somebody on camera is amazing too. That fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, the guy
I'm not
throwing
even
the
gonna say
rally.
his name. That guy's not even worth my fucking mention
It's
to say on this.
it's an interesting documentary because the way it starts off, it's talking about the origin
Mm-hmm.
of Pepe,
Yeah.
which I was aware of, but I didn't know the actual origin. I knew of the meme.
Yeah. Boys
And
Club, by the way, is the name of the comic, or was the name of the comic. So we started with the
Boys
Boys Club
Club,
comic.
yeah, Boys Club, which I never saw until this
Mm-hmm.
documentary, and that was just a really interesting part of the documentary that I was like, this is pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
when I started watching it, I'm like, okay, this is really interesting because like this is something I didn't know. I'm learning something new of something I know but really could care less, but I'm kind of interested.
Mm-hmm.
And then it starts to change a bit. It's really what I guess 4 segments. It's the
Yeah.
origin, what he gets turned into for the 4chan people
Yeah.
to
Kind of like
utilize
into the MySpace into 4chan, and
to
then
go against normies that come
yeah,
in.
normies. Yeah, the whole concept of normies. Fuck normies. Kill
And
them.
then the alt-right,
Mm-hmm.
particular Trump and that group of people utilizing it literally in their campaign.
Yeah.
Trump literally tweeting out one. And then it goes
Retweeting. Yeah.
into the
Trying to
creator trying to take
reclaim.
it back
Yeah.
and fighting to try to get a hold of it. I mean,
Yeah. All the InfoWars stuff and the Alex Jones kind of like debacle was yeah.
First Amendment.
Yeah.
It's
First, yeah,
amazing,
all
isn't it?
that.
First Amendment, stealing somebody's copyrighted work
Yeah.
and
Your
trying
First
to
Amendment
sell it.
right is to actually steal other people's stuff to make money for you. That's actually what the First Amendment really is.
And then jacking
A
the
lot of people
price
don't know
up
that.
when the
Yeah.
news starts talking
Yeah.
about it.
Going from 1776 because, patriotic. And
And
then,
we
whatever it
say this
was.
in the movie commentaries that we put out, that in the beginning and we've never made literally 1 penny
A
from any
single
movie
fucking
commentaries.
dime.
Even
Penny.
though technically we're critiquing and we're talking about it, we
Hmm.
don't even go in that area. And you got
No.
people like Alex Jones, who has a shit ton of money and he's just stealing from somebody and trying to make a profit. And then when
Yeah.
he has to answer to it, he just acts like a cock,
Yeah. A big giant cock.
a small little shriveled up
And then
cock.
and then at the end, when he has to actually settle and give money to the actual
Yeah.
person who created this, he's like, "Well, this isn't any money. $2 million. Who cares?" The fact that it's like,
Yeah, he
yeah,
starts
I
bolting
gave him
about it
money.
that it was a
Yeah,
little amount. And
it's such a little amount, but it's like, you fucking this piece of garbage
a
type
piece of
thing.
garbage.
Well, we're not talking about that. Fuck that guy.
Piece of
Fuck,
garbage. I
fuck
mean,
that fucker.
we're not even talking about the other people that are involved, but I mean, in particular, Alex Jones, he actually tried to sell a poster
Yeah.
with the character on it. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. But that's what's cool about the documentary is that it shows you this pot that just keeps getting stirred and stirred,
Yeah.
and it just gets thrown
No.
and literally becomes a new symbol like the swastika, which swastika was used in many different
And
cultures prior to.
Nordic culture was the original, where it wasn't tilted. It was like straight up, like
Yeah, I think it found in
Nazi Germany. So
Hindu, a
Hinduism and Nordic culture and
whole
stuff like that.
bunch. Yeah,
The swastika, quote unquote, was
but anything can be turned into a symbol of hate. So,
yeah.
um,
And unfortunately, the Pepe the Frog is still seen as a recognized hate symbol in America too.
right.
It's not off the
That's
list.
right. That he pretty much gave up on that. He had
Yeah.
to kind of, because the guy was just like,
Sorry, dude.
what you want to do with this, guys? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no matter what you do, this has already been hijacked.
And in reality, the guy that created Pepe's seems like the nicest, mellow guy.
Sign the fucking work.
It's so mellow. Could have had that voice.
Kind of like us.
And he tried to utilize the new fame and bought like $40,000 worth of merchandise that
Yeah.
essentially now has the swastika on it, so you
Yeah,
can't
pretty much.
sell it.
He's got a bunch of swastika button downs, and he can't sell it. It's probably still sitting in that rented garage that he has
Yeah, because
somewhere
they can't
in San
donate it.
Francisco.
The only thing really is to burn it.
Yeah, I mean, and even that, it's like that's complicated. So it's like burning things when it comes to Nazi-esque ideology might be a little kind of seem weird.
It's quite the journey,
It is.
and it's a well-made documentary. The same group that put out Dinner in America, Visit Films,
Yeah,
was part of
highly
that. So
recommended because I think
definitely check that out.
first premiered I think at Sundance, and then came over to Fantasia. So that was a lot of fun. But that's weird little part of the internet. And what are some of the other weird internet-esque things that you and I both saw? We saw a couple things that we wanted to kind of include in the.
Did we?
And the internet's
I
fucking
don't know.
crazy. The internet's
Can you remind
weird.
me of something? Just
Something to do with like, remember Craigslist when you used to like put shit.
come fuck my robot.
Yeah, come fuck my robot. Not even a clever pun, just called come fuck my robot. And it's spelled C-O-M-E, so it's not like, oh, come. No, it's like, come fuck my robot.
So the story was Malibu. This guy wrote a Craigslist ad for a robot that he invented, and he wanted to have somebody come fuck the robot. He would do it, I guess is what he said.
Yeah, he said, I do it.
Unfortunately, he
But
feels like the father since he invented it.
he can't fuck his own daughter or, son, I guess. Well, here's the thing with that. We didn't really think about it. Come fuck my robot. It was very kind of like, a term that was, not male or female. So in the film, it's a short film, 12 minutes
Well, it does
long.
say male for female on the Craigslist post.
Okay, it does. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I may have missed that. I would have been interested.
Small.
Yeah,
I don't think that was the only worry about going to a man's house to fuck a robot.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, a guy would answer the ad and be like, "Oh, I'm going to fuck a robot." It's something that would never probably occur to a female saying like, "Well, she probably can't either," because guys who create a robot,
I don't know. I could see it working.
Whole, it's not going to be a dick.
I could see it working. I could see the character.
Unless you have an attachment or something like that. It's like, depending who comes by, it's either going to be a hole or I'm going to.
Or it could be George Clooney in Burn After Reading, the chair that he makes with the.
Basically, I mean,
dildo.
You can do it either way. It's like you can either have the hole for your dick, or I'll put the cock attachment for somebody else you might.
Well, this film was very exciting for me because
you and I had talked about this for a few weeks before you got to see it.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I completely wrote off that I would ever get to see this film. It was written off because I had tried to contact them and asked them because we had a link, but we didn't have a password.
Yeah.
And even if it was like on Amazon, I would have totally spent a couple bucks to rent it.
Yeah, 99 cents, $1.99, something like that would have been fine.
Totally. So we had gotten the asset link of all the films, and our screeners, that was not a part of the screener, and I saw Come Fuck My Robot, and I looked at it, and then dove into the story, and they had the screenshot of the Craigslist ad from like 2008 or something like that.
It was like over a decade old.
And wow, I was just like, this is interesting. This is and then there was a couple screenshots of the short, and actually it looked
really great.
Quite
like,
gorgeous looking. The cinematography, which I point out in the review, I was like, I wasn't really expecting much from a movie called Come Fuck My Robot, but I guess we'll go to a little spoilers. So can we go into little spoilers maybe with this?
We could. I mean, we haven't spoiled a lot, but you know what? It's like
this. We'll talk about this because
go ahead.
I feel like this is one that we can talk a little bit more about. It was only 12 minutes long. It's a proof of concept for a feature. And I really do hope somebody picks this up. Because when it ends, I don't know about you, Matt, but I was like, I want more.
I want more. This could
Want
be
to know
like
what happens
this could be like
next.
a Bonnie or Clyde type thing. This could be kind
Totally.
of like, you know, a road movie with said robot
Yeah.
and 18-year-old virgin
I mean,
and
it starts
everything.
off with this kid. He's in a car. He's got a car phone.
Yeah.
He's talking,
His
and
fucking
to his like
brother is
brother
like,
or
oh,
whatever.
I'm gonna fuck this.
And he's this friend or brother is
Yeah,
talking
whoever it
about
is.
fucking uh,
Fucking hot chick and doing this and like doing
doing
everything.
this,
Like,
doing that,
I'm eating her out and doing this,
and
you know.
it's just the dialogue is just so like you're listening, you're like, this is
Yeah.
interesting, okay, and then he just stops and says, guess what, I'm fucking a robot.
It's like he's like, huh?
I know we're probably not selling it to you, but the funny thing
I
is
don't
he
know how we
goes,
wouldn't be so far. I mean, with that.
well, the thing about Come Fuck My Robot is it's it's got more going than you think on the surface. It's
Yeah.
literally a movie about consent,
Mm-hmm.
and talks about um, uh, going into consent, and he's talking to the robot, and this voice comes on, and she's being forced into
Yeah.
this, and
It's like I was
really
created only to do this, but I
to,
really don't want to.
right. Which at first I thought the voice, I was like, it sounded like Olivia Wilde for a second.
Yeah, it had that voice where it's like I guess that's when I was watching it. I'm like, damn, this voice is very reminiscent of somebody else's voice. So it
It
already
felt
made me
like Olivia
feel,
Wilde.
yeah, it made me already feel kind of uncomfortable. Where it was like it wasn't a robot voice. If it was a robot voice, it's kind of fucked up to say. It's like if it's a robot voice, is it easier to work around
But that's what the
the
movie was.
horribleness?
I mean,
Or
pretty much the concept of the movie was, because then the father's like, just turn the voice off,
yeah,
and start fucking the robot.
silence the victim. You
And
know,
he hears this personality, and he's asking her, and she's like, I'm really not into this. And it starts to kind of get pretty deep for a goofy
hmm
little comedy that I thought we were witnessing. And then
yeah.
it goes into a little bit of an overdrive scenario, and I won't really go into detail what happens. I think people
Mhm.
should see it definitely, but
Yeah.
it ends in a way that I'm like, I really want more. Um, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if I want more in 30 minutes or an hour. I don't
How
know how
much more
much
do I
more you
want?
could
Yeah.
do, but I feel like there's an interesting thing there that you could really
Yeah.
branch out. But I'd
Well,
be interested to see.
there's like, you know, if you did something more with the creation of the robot than after the robot, and seeing it from different perspectives, seeing it from, I guess, quote unquote, the father of the robot, how it was created, him,
Right.
how he got involved in the ad,
Yeah,
and
you could do that. You could kind of go back to each
yeah,
POV
yeah,
essentially,
yeah, because
if the characters. And
yeah,
then the thing about the robot too is it's not a female. It doesn't look female. It's not a
no,
female body. It's literally just a black box with a hole in it.
yeah, that's
And
all it is. It's a receptacle,
right, but
if you will.
he speaks to the robot. It's
Mhm.
just like he's speaking to one of your Alexas or
Yeah,
Google, and he kind of gets into this weird world of like, I don't think I really want to do this. She doesn't want to do this, and it
yeah.
really starts to ask some questions and kind of brings up some topics that I think are quite interested. I know hearing "Come Fuck My Robot" sounds like a goofy boner comedy, but really it's pretty fucking deep.
Yeah,
And
you could talk and write about a lot of stuff because even like this like one thing about it, it's like yeah, this guy created a sex robot that's very simplistic. However, he created an AI that's very uh, deep and intrinsic because if it's a AI that can kind of talk to you and know your name and talk to you, but why would you create something such a simplistic fuck box but create such an advanced AI? So it's kind
yeah,
of like this idea of, you know, I'm going to put all my heart and soul into developing your, you know, character and like your research and things like that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you are literally just a box to stick a dick in,
hmm
which is kind of it's such a fucked up concept where it's like, a guy, and only a guy would fucking create this, of course.
Yeah,
Too.
I mean, it would
You
only.
know?
I mean, I could kind of see it working via female because it still brings up the consent
Yeah.
whole aspect.
Which the short is directed by a
But
female.
obviously,
You know.
a male is going to, the father who's just screaming and he's angry and
He's
he
angry
wants,
at his daughter that he created to have somebody come over and fuck his daughter. But he created like a pretty in-depth, you know, daughter that knows things and can actually feel some sort of emotion, even though, you know, AI shouldn't or a computer shouldn't. But
you get a lot
how
out
to
of
do that. But
12 minutes. You get a lot out of 12 minutes. And
yeah.
the cast, the cast was great.
Mm-hmm.
The two guys I thought did a fantastic job. If they do a longer, maybe a feature, I hope they kind of bring everybody back as
Mm-hmm.
well. I think that would, and it looked great too. I think absolutely looked great. So
I love the way it looked. I mean, the
yeah,
lighting and everything like that. I mean, sound design, everything about it worked really, really well. So,
yeah.
uh,
What didn't work was climate of the hunter.
oh, I thought we were going to go into something else of internet related before we went to that, to be honest. So that's fine.
Well,
Though. We can loop back around to that.
okay. Well,
Okay.
climate of the hunter was,
Which I haven't seen, but you saw it.
yeah,
You reviewed that.
and I'm just gonna say real quick, it was. I enjoyed the look of it. There was this 70s style, the
It had that
outfits.
70s kind of hammer horror
Yeah,
type look to it a little bit.
and for a while it did this like glossy feel to the characters. Some bright lights were very glistening and and these characters, but it kind of got a little too much after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Costumes look great. I really enjoyed the actors, but there was just too much dialogue. And yeah, it's a vampire film. I get it. These two sisters kind of have a thing for this guy who might be a vampire. It's shot in a 4:3 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
It's got that feel to it with the snazzy costumes, and the atmosphere just feels great. But I kept finding myself, it was an hour and a half.
Not even that long, so.
And when you start doing that during a movie,
Yeah, that's not good.
oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Is he done?
Yeah.
Oh, he's talking about planets and stars. Yeah, okay. So unfortunately, was it terrible? Not necessarily the worst thing I've ever seen, but my one word review for it would be wordy. It was way too wordy. It had a lot of things going for it. Boy, did it need some trimming.
And that's not, I mean, for being an hour and a half, how much more are you going to really trim from that? If it was like a 2-hour movie, you'd trim it fine.
Yeah.
It's fine, but
this is 3 episodes of a sitcom,
yeah, and even that could be a little long sometimes too.
Could
so
be.
that's unfortunate because I mean the look of it always intrigued me. I mean, I like that.
Well, you had told me about it, and
Yeah.
you said, it's like the 70s vampire film. I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah,
I don't care.
It's an old school Hammer, Christopher Lee type of Dracula looking thing. Maybe a little bit of Jim Jarmusch, Only Lovers Left Alive type thing, But it seemed like it was. I don't want to say too serious for its own good, but I guess maybe
Pretentious. It got a little pretentious, I think, in certain
Yeah.
moments. I think it thought it was better than it really was.
Oh well, I mean, you cannot have all the winners, which is unfortunate because you want like a vampire genre film to kind of do that, but
I really wanted that, yeah.
yeah, but you didn't see Yummy, even though I think I told you that you should have seen Yummy.
Yes.
That's completely on the other side. If you're talking about vampires and we're talking about zombies, French Belgian gore fest, pretty much. Kind of remind me of Dead Alive or Brain Dead.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
I saw the trailer for it. It looked pretty cool.
It's pretty out of its mind a little bit. It's got some really great kind of gags going for it. There was something I kind of alluded to in the review, and I guess this might be a little bit of a spoiler for the film. There's basically a long like dick joke that kind of goes on in the film where the whole premise of the film is that these people are going to a like cosmetic hospital for cosmetic surgery or like liposuction, rhinoplasty type stuff like this. So this actor or this guy who's an actor, he gets like a dick, pretty much a dick enlargement because he has a small dick now. He has a bigger dick, and he tries to have sex with a girl, and something happens to his dick where his dick gets caught on fire. And he's beating his dick. Yeah, I know. It's like, and not even
friction.
It's a lot of friction.
You rub two sticks together, you get friction.
Yeah. And then basically his dick's on fire, and then has to get a fire extinguisher blown on so his dick freezes up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, you have fire dick, cold dick, it's the
wacky adventures of the dick.
Wacky adventures of the fucking cosmetically created cock. So that was funny. I mean, I wasn't expecting that in a movie like that.
Yeah.
But it's a fun little zombie romp, if you will. Less than an hour and a half, I think. So it's a pretty breezy little thing, and it's the ending's a little bit of a bummer. I will say that. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's got a bummer of an ending, kind of in some ways.
Is it cop out or?
No, I think
kind of let down.
Not even a letdown. I think it's done in a way where it's like, oh fuck, kind of like that. Where I'm not upset about it, but I'm like, damn, that sucks. But there's some weird, problematic elements in it too, like for our current culture and stuff like that. There's things in it, but maybe that's the Belgian French way, that because they usually don't give a shit anyway. But if you're looking for a bloody, gory, Peter Jackson-esque zombie flick, Yummy's pretty fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun little flick. So
yeah,
fun little zombie flick.
Good. Well, I'll check it out. I definitely saw the trailer. You had told me about it, and boy, do I love me a zombie film. So
it's something that's turn your brain off. You don't have to really think too much about it.
Thought that with the vampire movie, but
it was too smart for its own good, I guess.
What you gonna do?
I don't know. How about a film that we both saw that involves tits and fingering, masturbating, all that good stuff, all that good.
Was that Class Action Park?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was close. I mean, it's like if you read it between the lines, it definitely had that, but
Private Chat,
PVT
chat,
not PVC chat. That's what she's wearing, but it's PVT chat,
which I said was very alluring.
Yes, you were like, it's alluring, and you watched it before I did, and it was on the list for me, but you're the one who watched it first, though.
Yes, this was one of my the first movies I kind of wanted to watch, the first set, the first 3-4 movies.
I think this was like in your first 3 or 4 or 5 films.
Yes,
I gotta have to watch this one. So.
And it just sounded interesting. Jack is a internet gambler living in New York City.
Knows blackjack really well. They call it Blackjack Jack.
And he's fixated on this cam girl from San Francisco named Scarlett.
Mm-hmm. Julia Fox, who is in
Uncut Gems.
People know her from that right now.
I think that's the only I think that was her breakout performance.
Yeah, that was like the thing that people knew her for, and then this movie happened to come out. Now it's like, oh, Julia Fox was in this before.
Yeah, she is, and it's about obsession, really, in multiple different characters. It's a movie about obsession and
loneliness,
what it will take to get there.
Yeah.
Um, and I absolutely, I thought this was, again, one of the best ones I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I really like a good film about just everyday people
Mm-hmm.
and what's going on behind the curtain. Some people have some skeletons in their closet. Some people have
Some people,
some
everybody
chains in their
does.
closet.
Everybody's got a lot of shit in their closet.
Got some stuff going on.
They just want to admit they have a closet that they can fit it all in.
And there's a guy that's, he's gambling. That's all he does is he gambles online, which is a risky thing. There's a girl who gets naked and talks down to guys and
Mm-hmm.
does things on cams.
Well, she doesn't get that naked. She makes them get naked in front of her.
That's her. Well, because she doesn't really want to do it,
She
as we
doesn't
find
really
out.
want. Yes.
And that's
Lo and
really
behold.
my favorite part about this film was when it turns, when you're starting off with Jack and he's going through Chinatown and he's fixated on this woman and he meets the painter and he's got to put his son through college but doesn't have the money, so he's like, let's gamble it.
It takes some odd turns where it's like, okay, well,
the honest part,
fit in.
I think it's funny is a movie about a guy jerking off to a girl on a webcam and gambling and plays being made. The weirdest part was waking up to a guy painting his apartment for me.
Yeah, in a very shitty blue color, which is like, okay, well, who picked this fuck? It's like, well, the family liked the color.
The family likes the color. So his roommate commits suicide. He's getting pushed out.
Which, at the end of the day, I actually don't even know what the truth is in a lot of ways, because that's the way this movie kind of plays in some ways. Where
I
it's
feel like I know it.
What is the actual truth behind what's really going on? Because Jack is kind of I won't say the most reliable of narrators or the most reliable of characters too.
He's not. He's a gambler.
He's a gambler, and
I'm gonna watch it again. I feel like I maybe missed something, but I feel like I don't think he was really good at gambling.
Online gambling, especially,
I think
which is completely, if you think the fucking gambling in fucking Vegas or anywhere else is
hard,
even harder on the internet.
Yeah,
there's no fucking rhyme or reason behind internet gambling. The internet, it's completely unreliable. So,
although every time we go on the internet, we gamble.
Yeah, we gamble with our lives. I mean, we're gambling with our lives.
Like getting another email from
this
somebody.
Fucking conversation, exactly.
It's just a jerk off. Yeah, well, people get pissed off sometimes, and that's okay. Just change the channel. Just change it. Go somewhere else. That's fine.
Go on 4chan. It's fine.
But that's what I think happened. I don't think he had any money, and I think he was getting kicked out. And I think the whole thing with the guy that was really carrying things was his roommate, and he committed suicide. And the water hole dried up, and he was getting kicked out, and he was so fixated on Scarlett that I feel you're right. He was not necessarily the honest narrator, and he lied to her about creating this whole think cloud process app that he was working on.
The logarithm of this is what it's all that type.
He lied about, he gets into her apartment at one point and he lies about that.
Yeah.
And he does a stupid thing where he gets caught and she's like, who would ever do that? Like, that's not. And I think that's the thing is, like, as we're listening to him and he's trying to tell us the story, he negates that fact, and he's I don't think there was a shot of him logging into his email. He kind of went on the computer and he was doing different things, but
he did something on the computer, but we don't know what.
I don't think we didn't know it was logging into his email.
Yeah. Which is kind of like this whole thing of like, compulsive masturbator, compulsive liar, compulsive gambler, compulsive fucking everything that can be compulsive. But we also don't know what he did on that computer. We don't know.
No, you don't. But she tells you, and then she, the great part of this film is that it flips to her, and then you get to she becomes the narrator, and he's telling you, and you learn things about her, and her boyfriend or fiance
Yeah.
or whatever.
Whoever that guy is, yeah.
And he's doing a play, and he's calling her, like he's utilizing their life in the play, and they're watching it, and he's like, you're a whore, you're on a webcam, and yet you find out that essentially she doesn't want to do any of this. She's actually a painter, she's into art, and she's essentially being forced into this to make money for her
for this
loser
this play they're creating or something like that. And then you find out that the guy,
her dreams are being crushed while his are
being
trying to be
pushed up. So at the end of the day, she's the one who's kind of like the, I want to say you have the pity. I don't want to say pity, but you kind of have the like, oh, that's fucked up. It's definitely a film that isn't, it's all too familiar, where the female is subjected to, very shitty treatment. But it kind of flips in some ways, because especially at the end where she kind of flips the whole thing, where he's in charge, because she likes being in charge in front of the camera. And then it's kind of one of these things at the end where they're, in front of each other and stuff like that, where she also takes command, but also it's taking command of this loser. I don't want to say I'm calling him a loser, but yeah, in so many ways, as he's at the end of his fucking rope.
Yeah.
He's like, you're gonna meet me at this fucking hotel. We're gonna role play out this entire thing, and then it kind of ends at a little bit of a cliffhanger where it's like,
does.
Hey, it does.
And I want more. I wanted to know what misadventure they went on, because he calls
the painter son,
the father, the college guy. He's like, I got this idea, and I'm like,
it's like, are they gonna fucking cam together? Doing porno together? What are they doing together type thing?
I was waiting for after credits. I thought there was going to be like something that was going to keep continuing.
I thought there was too. Yeah.
I want a sequel. I want to know what happens. That tickled me in the right way of just wanting more. And I feel like this was one erotic drama that really sucked us in.
Yeah. Reminded me of like a old school Soderbergh, like, reminded me of like, Sex Lives videotapes type thing, where it's like a lot of close-ups, like a single cam, limited takes, like being in the life of the people that we're looking at that very moment. It was that old school New York, art school, indie drama,
family film that you could watch with your family.
Yeah, something you can just watch with your family. It's like, hey, you know what? We recorded this together. Sit down. I'll just put a little fucking
Disney Plus. Let's just pop in PVT chat.
Just put that plus a little sideways where it's like X, Disney XXX.
That'd be good.
Yeah. So, I mean, you saw it. I liked it too. But, it's definitely one of these things where it's like, they're fucking going for it, because you see everything. They're not holding back.
You do.
Yeah.
You get to see quite a bit.
Yeah. You see a little bit of everything that you may or may not want to see, depending on who you are. So, but at the same time, it was still pretty intriguing.
It was a great hour and 26 minutes to watch. So, is there any other ones that you want to quickly bring up before we talk about? I
guess the thing we've been teasing the entire fucking time.
You and I have watched.
We both checked out Survival Skills.
Survival Skills, which was that was fun. That was a fun little. What do you think about it? I want to hear what you think about it, because I wrote the review.
You did write the review. I like Stacy Keach in it. I think the setup, he was great. I think the way the Stacy Keach, I always remember Stacy. I mean, I remember him from so many things. I remember him most, I don't say fondly, but most vividly, or two things. Body Bags, when he was in Body Bags, is the guy with the hair.
That's what I was thinking
of. And of course, he was in American History X.
Wasn't he in another horror film where Well, maybe I'm thinking of the long hair, right? He had the long hair and
Yeah, he had
body
the long
bags.
hair because that
I
was
think
the
that's the one.
story
Maybe
of
I was
body
thinking of like
bags.
the dentist movie or something where
Yeah,
he's
he's the one. He's like, my hair is thinning, and then he goes to the
okay. That's the one. Yeah,
yeah he goes to the guy who was
that's the one. I always
yeah.
think of him in that role, and
He has a long mane. He's like Fabio and shit like that. But ultimately, the hair is like fucking alien worms, like
oh,
harvesting your
that
body.
was the '90s.
Yeah, it was the fucking John Carpenter's body bags. I
Yeah,
remember him from that.
great flick.
And
Um,
like I said, American History X playing like the main like Nazi leader, like whoever. I mean, I don't know what you call a fucking Nazi leader. The fucking guy who ran the Klan thing and shit. You know, and he punched in the face by
Mr.
Edward
White,
Norton. Yeah, pretty
Mr.
much
Clean.
playing Mr. White. He's like, no, fuck you, Derek. That's the thing I remember from American History X with him in it.
He's got that wonderful, deep voice
He's got a good cadence. His
that
cadence is
really
quite
comes,
good.
yes, comes
So
right through and
yeah,
kind of sets up the tone. And
he's
we're
he's very,
here
we're
watching
here doing this.
Jim. Here's Jim.
Here's Jim. He's
Yeah,
your police officer.
and
He's your guy.
what's cool is he's playing it very straight, and he yeah, he looks and sounds the role like you would kind of see that older cop, maybe retired cop talking
Yeah,
about
like an older Jim Gordon cop or
yeah
something like that.
yeah. Um, and then when things start to go sour, he's kind of like, well, trying to rewind the
Yeah.
tape. What the hell's going on here?
You're supposed to go by the fucking rules I set up for you, type
Yeah,
thing.
and then he starts to
So
get, it kind of gets a little dark.
it
And
does.
I mean, it gets really dark,
Hmm.
but for him, he's like, this is the real life.
Yeah.
And he gets pretty dark too.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting turn. And the movie is shot mostly in 4:3.
Hmm.
It's set up as a VHS that you would
Yep.
pop in. It's a long lost training video from the 80s, so
Hmm.
right up our alleys.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it's about Jim, that's a perfect policeman who's the perfect policeman that's created for this scenario, for this training video, and shit goes out of control.
Hmm.
And you get that 4:3 ratio starts to expand, and you get into the real world.
Yeah.
And I just really love the tracking, and just really felt it felt good. Sometimes when people do that, it's just a little too much.
It could be a little cheesy. It could be like a little gimmicky and everything, which I get it. The gimmick of the whole thing is like this is a long lost video until the very end where everything
yeah
finally stretches out and kind of goes into the real world,
yeah the
if you will.
tracking ends, and the
Yeah.
tracking is utilized also to cut between scenes,
Hmm.
skip over things, stop. It's Stacy Keach is controlling the VHS. You're watching
Yeah.
Stacy Keach. He's controlling a VHS within the movie.
Hmm.
So that really was a fun film to watch. That was quite entertaining because it was creative, different, and it wasn't completely happy-go-lucky. It gets pretty dark, and you get
No.
to this is real life is shit,
Hmm.
and these training videos are not representing, and this is what
No.
it's like. And
This is what we want it to be, but the complete opposite of what it actually is. And I don't know. I want to say it's just it's topical, of course, for the fucking shit that's going on in the world right now and things like that too, where it's like, yeah, you can go by the books. You can train a cop however
well,
you can train a cop
you know,
or anybody.
if you take the time today out, any time period is never a good time period, especially when it comes to like domestic violence. So
Yeah,
the
especially
idea
yeah.
is, even in the 80s, when things were pretty dark in the 80s.
And they show Reagan a lot in this film too. Like Reagan is a fucking portrait, especially behind Stacy Keach most of the time, and the police officer. So that it's definitely a
Yeah,
you
what
know
was the line? They voted for Ronald Reagan when he wasn't even running.
exactly, because this whole
It's
thing takes place in It's like in California, like a small town in California. It's like people love Ronald Reagan, so they're really pushing it down your throat. Like basically at the end of the day, you should say fuck Ronald Reagan. He was not good for anybody. but that goes besides the point. But definitely makes a point of this film.
It does. It really does. And then it flips it on its head when the perfect policeman tries to intervene with a domestic violence call,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets over his head. He loses his wife.
Becomes too, which is funny too, because they purposely make his wife African American as well too, which is just one of these things where it's trying to, hey, the perfect cop who's also so diverse in his love that he has a very, it's like he has an African American wife, but she might as
And
well
she's
be,
proper. She acts like a
yeah,
Stepford wife.
exactly,
She's got the
yeah.
dress on. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the 19
Here's your cookie,
50s.
yeah.
and he comes home and has lunch ready, dinner ready for him all the
Yeah.
time, breakfast, and there's so many things. This is like Come Fuck My Robot, where there's this overtone of, you know, if you're getting into the whole police factor of things what's going on today, it's like this is what's being used as a training. That's not life. That's not really how
Yeah.
life is. When you get out in the
No.
real world, things are a lot different, and this is a good setup for it. It's entertaining. I didn't really want to get in that with the review. Again, we're simplistic reviews, so we're not writing
Yeah, we're not
16
trying to
pages.
yeah, we're not going deep. We're not
We're
going
not taking
way
all the
deep on this.
layers and analyzing them.
Yeah. Like here's the base of it.
Yeah.
You know what? Watch the fucking movie and decide for yourself at the end of the day too.
Yeah, it's an hour and 24.
Yeah. It's
it,
it's
it flew by. I thought for me, it was entertaining because it was unique and creative, but
mhm.
also really showed their message that they wanted to show.
Yeah. I
I got to
mean,
give them credit for that.
it's something it's something from like a genre festival where it's like, wow, this is like it's taking some chances, it's taking some interesting steps with some. I mean, I haven't really seen a film like that before, which I thought was. I mean, we've all seen like found footage, so
Yeah,
this is kind of like your idea of like found footage and this and that. But I mean, I don't know. I really liked it. It was, you know,
I really wish if I did this movie that I would put all the screeners on VHSs and just send it to everybody. It's
yeah,
like
why not? Yeah, exactly. There should be a VHS that you have to have VHS in
find the
order to watch
VHS player,
this.
pop it in.
Yeah, and if you don't, well, sorry, you can't watch
That
it.
would have been a fun movie to
Yeah.
watch on VHS.
So yeah, so we saw that. What are some of the other ones? Some of the other documentaries were Clapboard Jungle. I saw that. I know you haven't seen that one yet, but it's just kind of like the behind the scenes of it. Just for our purposes, it's probably entertaining because it's like here's all the bullshit you have to go through in order to make it like a fucking movie, everything like that. So
Yeah,
I did like that, but man, making a movie,
it's a
we
lot.
alluded to this earlier, and the thing is like people take 8, 9 years to make a movie, and it is, and you know that, Justin. You mean you've made at least one film when you were in film school and everything like that too, and I can only
With
imagine.
your help. Yeah,
Well, a little
yeah,
bit of
you donated. Don't think I forgot about that.
it doesn't fuck
Yeah,
you and DJ were the ones behind the fucking
yeah,
camera doing that shit.
it's and even us where we had a good portion of your budget that's going to equipment because equipment is expensive.
Yep.
We shot on film, of course. That's very expensive
Hmm.
to buy, to shoot, and then to develop.
Yep.
It's very pricey. So, we had it made pretty easy, and yet it still was a son of a bitch to get it done and made, with a lot of issues. And they definitely touch on that, I'm sure, in the documentary. Just like
They do.
your interviews with the three, it's not easy. It
No,
is not easy. But when you have passion, you make something, it really shows.
it does. And that documentary kind of shows passion, the fortitude, the shit you got to go through, the hoops, the politics, it doesn't matter how good your fucking script is, it doesn't matter how well it's received. It comes down to the fucking money that you can
And
raise.
that's a problem.
Raise the fucking money.
That's a problem. We literally see every day in every type of project that's put out.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my passion is in production. I love production. I love being on set. I love crafting things with my hand. I love post-production. But when you get into it, it's not you and your buddies are filming and you're doing everything and creating what you want to create.
Yeah.
Batman's the perfect example. Batman Returns was appalled by McDonald's because they couldn't sell Happy Meal toys
They couldn't
because
sell leather
it was
dominates
too dark.
Batman. Yeah.
And that's when things got really changed big, is that it was, really all about merchandising. See it currently and with Star Wars and how that really blew up in Disney's face, because that is what happens, just like Batman or Robin, and that's what happens when you're really keen on the wrong aspect of creating art.
Yep.
It's gonna kick you.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Speaking of art, you didn't see this one yet, but Shakespeare's Shitstorm, the latest from Troma.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, we might have to dedicate like a separate episode to this or something like that later on down the line. But
maybe we'll do a movie commentary.
ooh, maybe we will.
Yeah.
I mean, that's having its world premiere at Fantasia Fest.
Because I was originally setting up a movie commentary, our next movie commentary, to be a Troma film.
Ooh,
so this might be a perfect thing to do. Maybe in the future, maybe not right away.
Maybe not right away, but
it seems old school, right?
It's old school Troma. It's still well within the Poultrygeist, Romeo and Juliet. I wouldn't really necessarily say like Nukem High type thing, but definitely in that Troma's War, Terra Firma, not so much Toxic Avenger. I kind of mentioned this in the review a little bit, where this is not as Toxic Avenger for me, and probably for you too, became such a kind of like, I don't want to say zeitgeisty thing, but it became so commercial.
It did.
Toxic Avenger is like the ultimate commercial aspect of Troma. I mean, they had fucking goddamn cartoons about it, action figures, and this is the same fucking cartoon or the same fucking movie that had a fucking deformed fucking creep shove mops down people's throats, and it had Nazis in it, by the way. I mean, the first Toxic Avenger had a fucking sheriff or a fucking guy who was a Nazi character. But they had comic books, they had action figures, and they had Saturday morning cartoons about Toxic Avenger. There's not gonna be any fucking Saturday morning cartoons about Shakespeare's Shitstorm. It is pretty fucking crazy, but it's in that Romeo and Juliet Poultrygeist type of conversation for me, though.
Yeah, I think I will agree to you. I think that might be its own. We'll have to talk about separate. Because I did watch a little bit. I didn't get to finish it. I skimmed through it. Toxie has a special place in my heart. And it is funny growing up watching those cartoons and how commercialized Toxie came to be. And then they still created some, and you couldn't make it today, some really outrageous, offensive to some people comedy that I adore and love, and boy, do I miss those. So
that's what this movie kind of does.
It kind of reminded me of that when I was skipping through it.
Yeah. There's a lot to it, and there's some there's some lines in it that are really hilarious, and it's gonna offend a shit ton of people. But I don't think Lloyd or Trauma or anybody really gives too much of a fuck about that, because they wouldn't have made this film, and they're not making it for people that are just jumping in. If you're just jumping into Trauma for this film, then yeah, you're probably going to be like, oh my god, how do they do this? Like, have you been watching the last fucking 25, 30 years of Trauma films that have been coming out? So I don't know. It's, to me, I was like, man, this movie is taking it up a fucking quite a few notches.
I think we need that today.
We do.
We need that today in this world.
Yeah, and it's not taking itself seriously at all, but it's gonna offend quite a few people. It pokes holes at every fucking little thing that goes on.
But also, it's the type of film that would offend the person that wouldn't watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah,
and I think that's why they get away with a lot of things. It's not a commercial film that's going to be playing at every theater.
No.
But we live in a world where everyone's offended by everything.
Yeah.
A typo will offend somebody. So you're never going to win. So you know what?
Fuck it. Do it. I mean, who gives a shit at this point? So it's a lot of fun. It's got everything that you and I would ask for. It's got shit, dicks, ass, sex, drugs, fucking rock and roll, fucking transformation of people. It's got, I don't know, it's got everything it's got everything you would want in it. So violence, fucking, I don't know. I won't get into it, because if I say something, I might fucking, references to movies that we really love and everything.
Yeah, we haven't really spoiled too much. So
no,
I think that's good.
The biggest spoiler might be if you've seen if you've read The Tempest by Shakespeare, then you have an idea of maybe what you're getting into, but it's traumatized, if you will. So,
like they've done before.
Yeah, just like they did in Romeo and Juliet, they are going to traumatize The Tempest. And The Tempest is actually a pretty interesting Shakespeare play in and of itself. It's got a lot of controversy around it as well, too, and they kind of tackle that in the film, which I think is very fun and meta as well, too. So
cool.
Fucking watch it. I mean, it's going to premiere on the 30th, the 29th, I believe. So Saturday night is when, and that's when the review for us will pop off. But something else where I guess we'll finally get around to what we're.
I was going to say, that's the 29th.
Yeah, the 30th.
Now let's go to the 30th. What premieres on the 30th?
Something that you and I watched. The Paper Tigers. From the moment I kind of read about this, I was like, I'm very interested, because it's a genre that we already like. It's kung fu action. But it's also dealing with people that are over the fucking hill.
Here's what I'll say about this quickly. This film is probably the funniest film I watched here during this film festival.
Outside of Shakespeare's Shitstorm, this is probably the second funniest.
Okay. Because the jokes really worked for me.
They did. They were very clever,
they were not dull. They landed. There were some movies that I've watched that there was some jokes, and some of the movies that we liked, there were some jokes that were made, and it was like, okay, every joke that was made in this movie just kind of had me like, God, that's good. And I really wonder if that was in the script, or did they make that shit up as they were going for it?
And I kind of talked about that with Bao during the interview, where it's like, how much of this was improv versus scripted versus this and that, because they had they had some funny people in this. I mean,
fucking hilarious scenes.
Great people going back and forth, especially the Carter character that was kind of created in the beginning of the film with the videos from the 90s. It was like Carter's always the guy that's getting fucked over, and then he becomes
getting
this
his ass kicked.
character. Yeah, getting
Yeah,
his
and
ass
boy,
kicked.
does things change.
Yeah.
But
So
uh, the characters just they worked for what they were supposed to be there for,
mhm.
but also I found everybody in this movie to be fucking hilarious,
Yeah.
and that
Hilarious and
really
likable.
was the number. That was one of my
Mm.
best things about this. Number two was the choreography and the fights
Mhm.
were
Very
really
well done.
fucking good.
Super like realistic too. Like when people are getting hit, I was like, God
Well,
damn, this guy's
well,
getting whooped.
I listened to your interview,
Yeah.
and you asked him, you talked about that, and he said no one got hurt.
Yeah. That shit looks legit.
I
Some
don't
people,
know.
I mean, unless
I
they're
don't
really
know.
good
There was a
actors,
few times where I'm like, that must have stung. That had
yeah,
to have
because
stung
they
quite a
looked
bit.
legitimately like punched or put through a wall
In the
or
in
something like
the
that.
intro, which is there's the opening credits, which is shot
Hmm.
on VHS, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Hmm.
There's that one toward the end where he's fighting
Mm.
the guy and he like knocks the guy down and then just hits him, like just
Yeah.
kind of turns around and just whacks him in the face. The guy's face just goes right into the cement
Yeah.
essentially, and it was like brutal.
Shit. Yeah. This
Yeah,
wasn't like no cuts, no fancy
and the guy's going
camera
through the
work.
wall.
Yeah. I was like, damn, like these guys, I mean, if they were responsible, great. But from our perspective, when we're watching, it's like, oh shit, this guy
Yeah.
fucking took a lump. Like this guy definitely took some sort of hit
I
to
mean,
afford that.
the thing is, when I watched this seems like the type of film, like, I guess everybody had a background, had to
Mm.
have had some type of a background in martial arts,
Yeah.
because I can't believe how good everybody was
Yeah.
in regards to the choreography of the fighting, and then as well as fucking hilarious how
Yeah.
everybody was. So
Everybody played their
I don't
part.
know what those casting calls were like, but um, shit, did they nail the head on the? They nailed it. They nailed it
Yeah.
right there.
It had everything kind of, it had that nostalgia factor of like, a Karate Kid. And then it had this, buddy comedy type of thing going for it.
Yeah.
But then it had like the Bruce Lee kung fu kind of thing kind of woven into it as well. And I mean, this was like, feature film. It was like an hour 45, hour and
Yeah.
47
Yeah.
minutes. It had some good length to it. But there was never anything in the film that I would have said, gotta cut this, cut this, cut this. Everything kind of worked very well.
The flow was really good.
Yeah. And at the same time, it told about a few things too, where it's like, you're getting older, you're growing up, you're not the same person. And then, it had everybody kind of dealing with their own shit. You had, the one guy who was a, divorced father trying to take care of his son who,
Who,
eh,
by the way, when you watched him, did you not think he looked like The Rock?
he kind of had a little bit of that kind of look
He
going
looked like
forward
The
to it.
Rock who like stopped working out and stopped like eating. Like, go back, watch the movie again, and picture him as The Rock, like a skinny Rock.
A skinny Rock. Okay.
Yeah, it just the eyes, his
Skinny
eyes.
Dwayne Johnson.
You look like just
Yeah.
like The Rock, and it was a great setup. You're right. I mean, he's dealing with his the divorce and
Yeah.
being there for his kid, and also work
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm
and
an insurance agent. I got to do
driving the
this.
minivan.
Driving the fucking minivan around
Got the
and,
Bluetooth.
got the Bluetooth right there, which nobody uses Bluetooth, but it's fun anymore. And then you have,
Well, he's old.
he's an old
Only old
guy.
people are using the
Only old
Bluetooth.
people are using fucking Bluetooth. And I think overall, just the film was out of all the films we've seen, which have dealt with like, fucking heavy, heavy shit, horror, this, that, everything else in between. This was kind of like the most. I don't see. I mean, you can say uplifting. It was a
This is
pretty
very
uplifting
uplifting.
film, and
Very uplifting. It taught lessons.
it taught lessons, and it was funny. It was affable. You liked the characters in it. Had a good ending where it was like, oh, good, finally a fucking ending where I'm not fucking bummed out or something like that.
No,
So,
no.
no.
There was so many different types of films in this where there was such a wonderful hodgepodge. It was mixed
Yeah.
evenly, and just those three leads that
Mm-hmm.
really each character. I love seeing them young with in the 90s wearing their 90s outfits.
Yeah.
The VHS. It's like I wish like if they get to do another one, like I want to see more of that as
I want to see
well.
more of the '90s stuff. I want to see
Do a
more.
prequel of just
Yeah.
VHS, like
Yeah.
survival skills, where it's
Yeah.
just shot like the
Just
VHS.
give me a paper. Give me a prequel of the three
Yeah,
tigers instead of the paper tigers, because all their fucking shit they went through in the '90s and stuff like that.
it is.
Or, you know,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would love to see more of that, but I would also love to see more of these old men who
highly entertaining, and
were
I
these
don't know.
kick-ass fighters that needed to kind of deal with age and
Yeah.
life and had to get back into things. And if it's knee problems or losing hair or divorce, I mean it dealt with a lot, but
Hmm.
also it wasn't overwhelming. It's funny because I feel like if you don't like martial art films,
Hmm.
even if you don't like a kung fu film or anything like that, it's still really fucking enjoyable
Yeah.
to watch. I feel like if a movie like this got more eyes, it could really take off
Yeah.
because production was phenomenal. It
Yeah.
it looked great.
Hmm.
It it sounded great.
Hmm.
Everything about it, the acting, the direction, the writing, um, really fucking A plus.
Yeah.
And you're right, great ending, great villain.
Hmm. Yeah, the
Um,
villain, like that was intriguing enough for the villain to be this character that was kind of like he's kind of like the villain in the kung fu movies or martial arts movies we're used to, where for a modern day audience, it's like it needs to be bombastic, badass, fucking cut the fuck up abs, like this guy's gonna fucking murder the world. Whereas very Bruce Lee like, in a
yeah,
lot of ways.
yeah,
And, then we're dealing with him, but then we're dealing with the three characters that are just like, well, we're fucking old. Our fucking time is way past behind us, but there's still the concept of the
honor,
honor and
redemption,
yeah, just there's all those things where it's like it doesn't have to be fucking
standing
the
up.
raid redemption and shit like that, or
Yeah,
it comes at night or whatever. It doesn't have to be fucking just
yeah.
balls to the wall.
The fighting wasn't over the top.
Yeah.
It was done so well that it it was nice to actually watch because so many kung fu martial arts type films that are made within the last 10 years really like they overdo it,
Yeah.
and this was pretty grounded
Yeah.
in
And I
the
like that
fighting.
stuff. I mean, that's a different time, a different place where it's like, look, if I want
Sure.
crazy badass fights, but this had never led up to, it was more mythical. It had a mythic type of element to it where, poison fingers. It's like, that's not a real thing, but
No,
it still had that kind of
I
mythical,
mean it is.
yeah, it's pressure points because it builds up with with the one character with
Where he
who is
learns
it?
all the medicine.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
medicine guy. He knows how to, like, oh, somebody's. It's like, and then snap out of it and stuff. So it includes that whole mythical, Eastern medicine concepts and stuff like that too. But it never gets too out of bounds where it's like, okay, well, it's fine. I
yeah,
certain
yeah,
things certain things I can accept in
yeah.
this
and and
martial arts world.
and um and I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot with the production that they they kept it grounded, and then they get too crazy or out of control. And it really just was a fun watch, and it was a
Yeah.
buddy comedy film
Yeah.
on top
Pretty
of
much.
things,
Hmm.
and it was hilarious. I'm laughing. I'm like, you watch comedies nowadays that
Yeah.
are supposed to be funny, and I'm like, yeah, it was good. I didn't laugh one bit, but it was good. They completed the movie. That's great.
Yeah. Thank God.
This, I was like, that's pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah. A character Hing who does all the medicine and stuff, but he's obviously the comic relief. He's the buddy who kind of grounds everybody in everything all together.
Yeah,
And he's kind of like the cohesion that goes on. And he's great.
he's
Ron Newman,
hilarious.
yeah, he's fantastic, and he's a lot of fun. And uh, the guy, the
Their
guy who
arch
plays
nemesis.
Carter, the guy who plays Carter, he's
Who's like built too. I don't
he's
know that
fucking
guy.
built.
That guy
Yeah,
was
I mean,
built.
he's a huge dude.
And he
And
looked just like the kid too. Like he was probably the one that
yeah,
really I could really see.
transitioned way over to like, oh,
Yeah,
look at
he's
these
getting his
guys
ass
being
kicked, and
that guy.
he was skinny. Kind of had this thing with his chin.
Yeah.
And then the actor that got to play him, which I looked up, and he's been in quite a few things. He's actually,
He's been quite a fit. I mean, they
yeah.
found him in a web series. I mean, when I talked to Bao, he was in a web series like martial arts or something. Matt's his last name
So he knew
escapes
what
me,
he was
but
doing.
he knows what. Yeah, he
Because
knew
I
what
could
he was
tell. I
doing.
mean, that was
Yeah,
the other thing. Again, like I said,
yeah,
the guy, he's speaking in the language. He's fighting the right
yeah.
way,
Hmm.
and yet at the same time, he's being a complete dick to them.
Yeah,
He's he's trying to get their emotions built up. He's making fun of them.
yeah,
There was that one scene where they were talking about the first prick is the blood one.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like back and forth banter that just like you know guys being guys, essentially.
Pretty much.
Even
Yeah.
at their highest pissed off point, it's still
dick jokes.
dick jokes and laughing at it.
Yeah.
And there's even there's a fart joke in there
There
as
has to
well.
be.
It
Yeah.
works. It all works.
It works for us. I mean, I'll take a dick and fart joke
I
like
really think it would
literally all
work.
goddamn day.
I really think it would work with somebody who just likes a comedy and doesn't. I've never seen a martial arts film. I don't care
Yeah.
for them. I think it still works for them because it's so intriguing. I really got to give it. I got to give them credit on that one. I know they were rushing to get that edit done, and
Yeah.
boy, I'm happy they did because I feel like people when they see it on the 30th are going to be bonkers for it.
I think so, and they should be. I mean, it's something that's so it's a refreshing kind of change up to everything else, and not taking away any other films at the festival or anything like
No.
that. But it's such a different film that will, it's a fun, playful, buddy action comedy in a lot of ways, and we both liked it. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun. You thought it was a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, when it comes out, definitely people should check it out
mhm.
and definitely view it. It's your money. It will go to supporting real talent as well
Yeah.
as you're going to get something back that's high value
Mhm.
back to you. And I think that is definitely something that's lost these days. So.
Yeah. Support your indie cinema stuff.
Yeah,
So,
God,
do
so
that.
good, so
It
good.
is good. Last one I'll mention before we kind of get out of here. It's not going to premiere until the 2nd of September, but you haven't seen this yet. But for the sake of Vicious,
Yeah,
I really liked
saw
it a
the
lot.
trailer.
It's got the vibes of very old school, mid 70s, 80s cinema, very John Carpenter-esque. Kind of has the feeling of like an assault of Precinct 13 type thing going on for it a little bit. Maybe a little Death in the Maiden. So if anybody really likes Death in the Maiden and Sigourney Weaver, it's kind of got that going for it a little bit too. Some good action, um, ambiguous ending. DJ saw this one as well too. He wasn't as big of a fan as I was, but I'll put my review out closer to the premiere of that film too. So that's gonna be another world premiere. So a lot of world premieres for this festival, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
I'm glad it still can continue, even though we can't go, which is also good because it's expensive to go, and
yeah, I can
think
afford.
it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it has, and
Yeah.
we have to definitely big up all the folks that are involved
Yeah.
in the festival for providing screeners, providing guidance, providing.
Not easy.
It's not
It's a lot of
pretty.
work.
A lot of damn work, and for being the like one of the largest genre film festivals is doing it completely virtual. All the work that they've been doing in Canada and here and everything, and the differentiation between, people can watch everything live in Canada, but here in the U.S. where we are, we have to kind of watch everything beforehand and give feedback on it, after we watch it. So it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of coordinating for everybody, but I think they did an awesome job, and
Great job. Yeah,
including
tip our
us.
hats to them for that, because they've this film fest. It's been great. It's been
Mhm.
fantastic.
A lot of fun films, and we've only like scratched the surface of it. To be honest, too, there's still a ton of movies we haven't even seen.
Yeah,
But
got a whole week still.
we still got a whole week.
Yeah.
Today's only the 28th, so we still got 5 more days to watch as many movies as we want to. But more reviews coming out. More maybe some more interviews. I don't know. Some things might be in the works for that, but we'll see. So,
Sweet.
but what is the thing that you've been? I mean, we've already talked about what we enjoyed about the festival, but what's been kind of a highlight collectively about the entire
Uh,
thing so far?
the collection of different types of films that are available to watch. There are I like all types of films. I really do, but to be given a choice and it's not necessarily the same thing over again. I mean, we've talked about so many films that are so unique and different,
Mm-hmm.
um, that I was pretty surprised by. But at the same time, there's been so many wonderful films that I know you and I have looked through and checked out, and just how great it was to actually get to sit down and look through all these and be like, oh, I want to watch this, I want to watch that, I
Mm-hmm.
want to watch this. And there's so many other films that I looked at, it's not for me, maybe it's more
Yeah.
for you or somebody else. And that's what I like the broad collection of different types of films that were available to view. And listen, we love films, and
Do.
there's times where we get caught in that same rotation where the same shit just keeps coming and coming and coming
Yeah.
out. And that's one reason why I think us as a review website, we love to go back and watch older films and review things. Leading up to this, I was doing Beethoven and Me, Myself, and Irene.
You
Films
were
that have
doing
already
some.
came
Yeah.
out, been a while, but very different, very complete opposite of different things of what each
Yeah.
one contains. And that's what I like. And nowadays it's kind of the same thing over and over again, and not really much is coming out that's creative. And
Yeah.
we love creative stuff, and there's been so much creativity and so many different types of films to watch that show these creative visions that people are putting out. It's been wonderful.
Yes. And considering the fact that nobody's like making new films now, or at least they haven't been doing anything for the past what 5 to 8 months,
Yeah.
ever since all this bullshit came down in the world, and to have these movies still, they were ready, they were available, they were ready to go out and have everybody
Yeah.
kind of see them. I mean, we're pretty lucky to you know, be a part of the festival and, you know, talk to some really cool people, talk to some get some great interviews,
Mhm.
you know, even talk to some people on the Discord and everything like that, like kind of on the other reviewers who have different opinions. So it's been a very fun communal experience, this virtual film festival, which is, nobody's ever had to really do it before. So
Yeah.
hats off for, fucking making this thing
It's
something
not
something
it's not
special.
easy. As we know, the three of us live in three different states, and
Yep.
trying to do what a lot of people do in one room is
Mhm.
very difficult, and trying to keep that presence that you would have being in the same room. It's not easy. It's
No.
it's really not easy. And to do this much work and to have these many films, whew, good for them.
Good for them. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of our. I don't. Is this a wrap up or is this kind of our midway through? We'll probably
Yeah,
do
I
a
don't know.
wrap up at the end of this.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, if you guys want more, Matt's already put together 3 interviews that are available on our
Mhm.
website. You just check out the podcast. It's also in audio form and video. If you want to
Mhm.
check out our beautiful Matt there, if you want to visually watch him grill the directors
Yeah,
in the
really
hot
grill.
seat,
Yeah, watch me.
throwing those hard questions.
Yeah, watch me embarrass myself.
I have to tell you, I have an award for you, a journalist award that I am going to give you as the world's greatest journalist.
You're going to
So
give
that way
me the
now,
award.
yeah, I'm going to give it to you. I just created it in Microsoft Word, you print it out. I'll just
Okay.
fucking
Cliffy helped you
take a
out.
photo, send it
That's
to you.
good.
So
I
we could
appreciate
totally
that.
say, award-winning journalism. That's what you can do now.
Anybody can be an award-winning journalist now.
As long as you have an award.
As long as somebody gives me the award, that I'm not giving the award to myself.
I will do that for you. That way you can check out our Matthew Stewart's interviews, simplistic interviews that are award-winning.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the award. I mean,
Yeah, all you, brother.
I'm honestly, I'm at a loss for words for the.
You should be.
Award.
We all are. Really.
I am.
When we watch those interviews, we're lost for words.
Yeah, most of the time, the people that I'm interviewing are lost for words too. Like, I'm like being interviewed by this fucking knucklehead who has.
My favorite thing is I think somebody goes on our website and is like, who the fuck is this? Or listens to our podcast and it's like, these are not my kind of guys. These guys, they're different.
They're
I don't know they can be trusted.
From a different, they're cut from a different cloth.
Yes, we are.
Quite a bit. And
if you want to find that out, you can check out our podcast, available anywhere you can get our podcast, including YouTube, Spotify, fucking iTunes, Apple Podcasts is what it's called now. So check that out. You can view everything on our website. Go to simplistic.reviews, and if that's hard for you to comprehend, simplisticreviews.net.
Yeah, do that. It's fun.
Old people, they're not hip.
We're trying to make it easy. It's like, it's 2 words, simplistic reviews. Put the dot in between the simplistic and the reviews.
It saves you time.
Quite
frankly. Who wants to write out simplisticreviews.net?
We're saving you 4 keystrokes.
Honestly, if you type in simplistic reviews,
maybe 3.
Google, I mean, that seems like a lot more work just to Google simplistic reviews. So just type simplistic.reviews and
in the search bar.
It's magic. It's the internet magic. There's no Pepe Frog nowhere on there, but you can check it out. We also have a store on there. You can check things out.
We do.
You can purchase to support the show and support us. There's some wonderful items on there. There might be a promo code somewhere on the website. You should check it out.
Maybe.
Maybe on the podcast there's an exclusive.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's possible. There is, but you should probably check it out. We'll see you guys later. Remember, we got a podcast coming out the 1st of every month, and the 15th of every month is our movie commentary, which is full of wacky hijinks, and you never know what's going to happen.
Wackiest. You never know what's going to happen next. But so, see you guys later.
See you guys later. See you guys later.
I'll see you later.